For my behavior modification project, I chose to eliminate an undesirable behavior, and that was procrastinating. And in order to test this, I chose to solve it with my writer's notebook. I don't think that I generally procrastinate if I have the time to do it, but when I have a whole bunch of other stuff to do, I put something that I have a lot of time for last, so I never really get to it. I would like to change this behavior because I think it would give me more of a balanced schedule all around, so every day would have like more of like an equal amount of work rather than being like some days I have like 3 hours and then some days I have like 10. So in this experiment, I gave myself only the weekdays of winter break to work on this. So in order to like shape my experiment, I started out by giving my first 2 days 45 minutes a day, and my 6 middle days an hour, and the last 2 an hour and a half. So the way that I had this work is I would wake up in the morning and I would have to do 45 minutes or an hour and a half before I got to hang out with my friends. And if I completed it, then I could go hang out with my friends. So by doing this project, I feel that I definitely did more over break than I probably would have because it wasn't due the day after break, but it wasn't completely successful. So the first 2 days I did it correctly, but then on the third day, I was supposed to be hanging out with my friends an hour later, so I was like scheduled for that, but then it ended up that everyone was hanging out an hour earlier. So I thought, I'm not just gonna miss my plans just because of the writer's notebook, because they were going all the way down to Coronado. So I instead just went with them and said I would do it after. And I ended up doing it after, but it wasn't in like the format that I expected myself to do it. So that was the one problem. And that happened a couple of times. That happened on the third day and the 5th day, and then that happened on the last 2 days just because I was really busy. And the last 2 days, I didn't make it up on those days. I had to make it up the last Monday of break. So that wasn't 100% successful, but I'm still happy with like the amount of work that I did. First day, I started by going by the table of contents, and the dates aren't 100% accurate in here because they're supposed to be separated, otherwise you lose points. So I checked my reading minutes, and then I moved on to the print quotation pages, and these took a really long time. So I really only got about the 3rd page, about right here. So after that, the very next day, I kind of picked up where I left off. So I started, and I only had 2 more of this type that I needed. So I had to go that, and I think I finished it up, and I hadn't yet started the non-print quotations. So then on the 3rd day, this is when I had to do it after. So I made these non-print quotations, and again, they're like all separated by date. Yeah, so there's only 10 of them. So I didn't have a whole bunch of time, and I don't think I used the entire hour that day. Well, I definitely didn't, but that's okay. So then on the 4th day, I did some power words. These were really difficult, so I only did about a page of them. And then I moved on to doing some of these full pagers back here. And I did spend a full hour on this day. Okay, so then I actually picked up with these the next day. The next day, I had to do it after I was already hung out with my friends. So, I mean, it didn't 100% work out because there wasn't just enough motivation to miss my plans that I could do more homework. I finished up with all of these power words, and I moved on to one of my rhetorical analysis pages. Now, I had to say it was from September, but it actually wasn't. So, this took kind of a long time because it came with like 2 parts, and this took a little bit over an hour, but like, I mean, I wasn't gonna stop myself. So then on the 7th day, I did this one, and I did this part right here. And then on the 8th day, I started up with this, because they go together, but they're pretty different. so that wasn't a big deal. So then again, on the last 2 days, I kind of messed up and I didn't do exactly, like, I got to do maybe 5 minutes of it. So I had to pick it up when I was coming back home from Big Bear on Monday morning. So I did this one on Monday morning and this one. Yeah, okay, so the rest of it was like pretty much done before I started break. There were just a couple pages, like, well, this one actually wasn't. This one I did during the school week, but that's not part of the experiment. Yeah, there were a couple more pages, and there were 10 full page areas, which again I can't remember which day I did it. I think I did it like the 4th day. I did some of these. But yeah, I had to make them like in order, like going up. Yeah, so there's a lot of these. So I worked on these. I'm not quite, I think it was like 1.5. So yes, because this experiment didn't entirely work out for me, it only worked out a couple of the days, I think next time I'm going to make something more desirable, like be the reward, because this entire time I never assumed that I would skip my plans just because I hadn't been on top of my notebook, and I don't think I ever would just because it was break and we don't have a lot of breaks. So I think that was my behavior modification project, and I learned a lot while I was doing it, and I had fun, and I mean it helped me be productive more than I would have had I not been doing this project. So I think it was successful to some extent.